And we are live with another episode of, well, this isn't BS Busters. This is actually, in fact, the Sci-Fi Power Hour. And, you know, in this case, it probably won't be an hour. It'll probably be like less than an hour. But without much ado, let's get into it. I'm joined by my guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, this is Pedophile, the veteran member of the BS Busters and Sci-Fi Power Hour-ish.
That is correct. And we might have someone else pop in here, but we might be done faster, sooner rather than later. So this is Mr. Red Fox here, and today we're talking about sci-fi or fantasy shows or IPs that people should be involved with that maybe they haven't talked about, maybe they don't know about, that we think people should, you know, give a chance to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And with that being said, I mean, who wants to go first? Shall I go first, or shall you go first?
Well, you should go first, because currently I've only thought of one sci-fi show that people should go watch. I had to think of two more shows or movies.
All right. I would tell people that this is a book series. A book series that I've been having a lot of fun with is a book series called Chaos Seed by this guy named Aileron Kong. It's a lit RPG. So it's an RPG. It's a book series that instead of being based upon, you know, typical science fiction like typical sci-fi or fantasy, it's a lit RPG. It's its own genre where essentially it's kind of like, you know, what if you were a character, or the character is a character inside of a MMO, you know, or some version of an MMO. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So basically, like Chaos Seed is about this guy who, like, he dies in this accident, and in the last second he's saved and put into this fantastical world where it's like an RPG, and basically like his struggles building a kingdom and you know, finding loved ones, and you know, finding a family and protecting them from other beings. It's pretty fun. I've enjoyed the franchise for what it is. Not saying it's perfect, but it is pretty damn fun. So I would advise people to go read that. I think you can get the first few books for cheap on Amazon. There might be physical copies, but I got them through Kindle. So because I'm cheap. I'm a cheap bastard. Cheap. Your turn.
Let's see. The first sci-fi show or movie I would mention is Space Quest. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, isn't that from Tim Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember vaguely, but I watched it on DirecTV.
Fair enough.
And now I finally remember it recently.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Speaking of sci-fi movies, one of my favorites is something called Ice Pirates. It's a parody of Star Wars, much like, you know, the 80s. Everything was a parody of Star Wars, basically. But this is actually a good parody. It's set in a future in this alternate galaxy where essentially there was this war, and this like it blighted all of these planets that human beings live on. So water is the most precious resource. So, like, of course, where you have precious resources, you have pirates. And so basically they store the water as ice, and And you have these pirates who go around hijacking the ice shipments, and they're called ice pirates. And the main character's name is Jason, played by the dearly departed Robert Urich, who was a pretty damn good B actor back in the day. And it's a fun little movie. It basically takes Star Wars tropes and spins them on their head by doing things you would never expect to see in a Star Wars type setting, if you get what I'm saying.
Are they comedic or
yes? It's very comedic. It's very comedic. Like in the beginning of the film, they're raiding this ice ship, this ice convoy, this ship convoy that has the ice shipments, and like Jason's right hand man is this dude named Roscoe. He's a black guy, and Roscoe's like, yeah, with this shipment, I'm gonna retire, and I'm gonna put my money in I'm gonna open up an Android. I'm gonna sell androids, and like so he's like the android guy. He's got this one android that's all short and kind of stocky, and he's like, yeah. It's like, where'd you get this android from? He's like, well, I mean, look, I don't have a lot of money. I got to do the best I can. And so this little android is like, this little android looks kind of derpy, but then like they get swamped by the bad guys androids, and their androids are like apparently like more up to date, so more badass looking. So there's this massive fight, and like most of the ice pirates androids are getting their ass kicked. So then they finally send the little short one, and the short one's kicking ass, like he's using kung fu moves and shit. And the one android that they had that they wanted to fight, aside from the short one, that like they were like, yeah, he's gonna do something, who fritzed out. Like after the short one does all the work, like he goes up to the smashed up enemy android and starts hitting the dead body, and Jason's like, hey, you know what, you're just come here. And he goes this walkway, he's like, you see down there, and he throws it over the edge. He's like I want my money back. And walks away. It's hilarious. And the movie stars a young Angelica Houston. You may know her as Morticia from the Addams Family movies. A young Ron Perlman. Like really a young Ron Perlman. It's weird. And yeah, it's a pretty good film. Yeah. I would advise everyone to go watch it. It's funny.
Now for my second pick, Titan AE. You've heard of it, right?
Yes. I actually went to a movie theater and saw that movie.
I was like Space Quest. I too also saw it on DirecTV and remember enjoying it. Though looking at it now, it looks a bit
dated.
Yeah, it looks a bit dated now, with the pseudo CG effects mixed with 2D animation.
I don't think Titan AE was a bad movie. I just think it would have probably done better as an animated series. Like, had they taken the concept of Titan AE and put it as like a 13 episode kind of OVA thing.
Right.
Because there's a lot of stuff going on in Titan AE. And it's like there's a lot of history and cool stuff going on, and there's no explanation for it. It's like, wow, this would be a really good TV show. Maybe not a movie, like, because you can't really explain the stuff going on in Titan AE like in an 80-minute movie, 80 animated feature. It's really hard. But if they did it in like maybe like 20-minute episodes animated, or maybe, well, I mean, it's animated 13, let's say 25, 27-minute episodes over 13 minutes. I think that could have really helped it. But overall, it was pretty good. I mean, because we're kind of spoiled these days because there's Pixar and DreamWorks, and they do really good animation work. So it's like when someone doesn't do something to that caliber, it feels like, man, you've been effing up. Even when they didn't.
Let's not forget storytelling, because usually Illumination has been compared to being just a knockoff DreamWorks.
Yeah, but I mean, Illumination does good stuff too. I mean, look at The Life of Pets. That was a pretty damn good movie.
Even though it was pretty much like Toy Story.
Yeah, but I mean, it was different enough from Toy Story to where it wasn't like a complete because even Toy Story is still stuff from other media. You know?
Yeah, because it was basically a quote unquote rip off the Brave Little Toaster.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't really. I'm just simply saying that like we're kind of spoiled these days because there's so much good animation. You know what I mean? It's like so. I mean, especially back in that day, like one of the best westerns I've ever seen was Rango, and that's an animated film, and it's a western. Or you know, one of the best kung fu films I've seen in a while is Kung Fu Panda, and that's animated.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
you
agree
know,
with that. Kung Fu Panda was really amazing. Was really a stellar movie.
yeah, it's like wow, this is ridiculous. This is really good, and it's animated. It's like you're not expecting something that good to come from animation these days. I hate to say it, but animation has really stepped up its game. I don't think we'll ever see animation get an Oscar because if Who Framed Roger Rabbit couldn't get an Oscar, or
Oh yeah,
then
as I've seen. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I've seen a video talking about that, talking about complaints about animated films not winning Oscars, and
you
how
know if Who Framed
if Who Framed
no go
Roger Rabbit
ahead
win an Oscar, then no animated film can't. Yeah, I know
yeah
what.
like if Who Framed Roger Rabbit couldn't get anything, then we're all because that's a really good film. I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying that overall, it's better than it has any business being.
What is
Because
your
it's basically my third pick is another book series. I think that everyone, if they're a fan of, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, you should read something that makes Lord of the Rings look like evening time at the fair. I'm talking about a little film called, a book series called Conan the Barbarian from Robert Howard. They are really friggin' good films. Really, I mean, not films, books. They're short stories, so you don't have to devote a huge amount of time reading them. But they all, I mean, like a lot of people look down on people who do short stories because, I mean, they're short stories. But you have to remember, short stories, you have to get to the point and tell the story and build a world faster and with more aplomb than someone who has a novel to do it. Like, I know a lot of people like Lord of the Rings, but Tolkien to me is boring because he doesn't really describe action scenes well. But if he's talking about food, you know, he can get really descriptive. But in a fight, it's like, what? I'm confused. Um, well, Robert Howard is the opposite of that because basically Robert Howard, Conan the Barbarian, like if you put Conan the Barbarian and Lord of the Rings, that shit would have gotten done in one book. And no one would have died. Well, except for that elfin chick who married Strider or Erwin. Yeah, she would have been pregnant with Conan's baby. Okay. And Gollum would have been strangled by Conan. Like it's just a better character. Now, if you can get past the fact that it's a little racist because it's it's from the 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, it's pretty damn good. And here's a little side note for you. For those of you who are like, well, Conan the Barbarian, just it's very low fantasy. Conan the Barbarian, Robert Howard, and the guy who does the Cthulhu stuff, they were at one point like roommates. So basically, like initially, the first real protagonists of Conan novels were, Cthulhu creatures. So, there's
Not
a
to
little bit
mention
of knowledge for you.
Not to mention Conan's crossing over with Marvel characters such as Thor.
Yeah, I'm not down with that. I'm not down with Conan crossovers. Like Conan should be by himself because Conan is one of those what they call in fiction a vital hero who is basically immune to entropy. Like Conan, even as he gets older, is pretty damn badass. unlike a lot of other characters who, as they get older, just kind of fall apart. Conan will forever be able to kick people's ass. That's his thing. He's really good at it. Like Tarzan or Doc Savage or John Carter of Mars, the Phantom, the Shadow, stuff like that.
Yeah. Now we just need a good Conan movie.
Yeah, because the best one we had was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan the Barbarian in the 80s. And the problem with that is that if you're a fan of the Conan literature, you'll realize that that one's not that good. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not what people wanted.
It's not as faithful to the original books.
Well, because they take like 4 stories and smash them together. Which is not, I mean, you know, like, here's the thing. There's like 31 Conan short stories. And of those 31, like 12 of them are long enough to be short novels. I mean, there's a lot of material if you're a Conan fan, which I am, so it works out for me. But like, you can't tell, like, here's what I'll say about the Conan film. It has a really good theme song. Like, really, the opening theme, like, basically, if you really want to enjoy a Conan movie, have that Conan, that Basil Polidorus, Anvil of Crom soundtrack going on in the back of your head, and you'll be like, my God, this is awesome. Actually, that music makes everything sound epic.
Sounds like Conan's would be a lot more beneficial if it was a TV series rather than a movie, so it doesn't mash all several stories into one.
Well, they tried to do a TV series, but the problem is that Arnold Schwarzenegger was so heavily associated with Conan the Barbarian that, like, they couldn't ever really get it to, you know, work out, which is sad because, like I said, Conan the Barbarian is Conan the Barbarian is part of that age of fictional characters that are like the progenitors of your modern superheroes, of like your Superman, your Batman, your like your Flash Gordons. Like, he's the precursor of those characters. Yeah, he's the precursor of the golden age of superheroes. He's the precursor of that. And no one ever talks about that. They just ignore it, which is sad because, you know,
because we're so spoiled with better stories, better storytelling.
Well, I mean, I won't go that because, like I said, if anyone who's read a Conan the Barbarian story, I mean, the thing about Conan is that even though he is like he's a barbarian, and there's like this tinge of he has this disdain for civilization. Like, he does get hurt. He does get injured. He is outwitted occasionally. Like, he's not like Batman, who basically almost always wins. You know, and even when he loses, it's like a temporary setback. I got my back broken. Don't worry. I'll put this magic leg brace on and I'm okay in a few days. You know, I mean, like, Conan the Barbarian has been stabbed. He's had his arms broken, his neck almost broken. Like, he's lost. The love of his life was killed. He wasn't happy about that. Like, you know, like, he's lost. He's won. He's been a prisoner. He's been a slave. You know, he's, you know, it's like heroes today are too powerful. It's like Superman, when he first came about, was not this godlike being. He like, it's like the song says, he could run really fast. He was faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and he could leap tall buildings in a single bound. He couldn't fly. Kryptonite didn't exist. You know, if an enemy had a robot that was super powerful, it could beat him. And that made for a more interesting character because
Superman couldn't fly back then?
No. In Superman's original iterations, he looked like Captain Marvel. His colors were red and yellow, and his cape was red. And yeah, he was not the prettiest person. I mean, I like Superman, but I'm keeping it real with him.
He looked pretty at his time.
Well, I mean, when I say pretty, I mean just he wasn't like Like, and he was kind of a dick.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, that's what.
he was kind of an asshole. Like if you were a villain, he was happy that he could expose your crimes and you were going to the electric chair.
And this was before his no kill policy.
Well, he didn't really kill people so much back in the day. He was more like if you accidentally died, he wasn't going out of his way to just murder people. It wasn't like Zack Snyder's Superman. Although to be fair, if they wanted to be fair about it, okay, and I'm keeping it 100% solid right now. If Zack Snyder wanted to create a more edgier a deconstruction of Superman, he would have just been better just making
a throwback to the classic.
Yeah, yeah, it would have been a lot better than what he did, which wound up being just really friggin' annoying. In my humble opinion, I could be wrong because I'm just some guy, but what do I know? I'm just some douchebag. What do I know? I'm just some guy who read the comics back in the day. Yeah.
Not for my third pick. This one's a TV show that only lasted for a season. That was supposed to have a second season, but it got canceled right after. It was Tron Uprising, which took place between the original and Legacy, where it's supposed to explain how Tron became Clue's right-handed man, Rinsler, as well as starring Frodo as the main protagonist.
You mean Elijah Woods? Like, here's the thing: everyone sees him as Frodo, but I'll always see him as Huck Finn from Tom and Huck, or that kid from Radio Flyer.
Any other movies you remember him by?
He was North from North.
Oh, that movie with Bruce Willis.
No, yeah. It's not a very good film. North is not a good film. It's
really pretty much widely agreed upon.
It's pretty much a piece of shit, just to be honest. It's pretty bad.
And your third pick?
I already did my third pick. I did Conan the Barbarian and.
Sorry. So I guess that's it. Unless Jewel or Dragon pops in.
I mean, look, we got through it. So I guess anyone want to pimp anything out?
Let's see it. Oh yes, we've got yet another Xenoblade Chronicles 2 controversy, and this one does not involve boobs this time.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
It basically involves a meme where the soldiers constantly spamming the lines, "Don't forget me," "Think you could take me." Those lines were either altered or changed completely, and it has upset some people because they were enjoying that meme.
All right.
And let's see what other news. Oh yeah, and we're also getting Android 18 and Videl bikini outfits for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 for DLC.
If only I cared. But alas, I don't. Like, I mean, here's the thing. I haven't given a shit about Dragon Ball Z since the Cell Saga.
Yeah, and speaking of continuing on with the Dragon Ball, there's concerns about Dragon Ball Super being canceled prematurely, right in the middle of a tournament arc, because of the long hiatus from last month.
I don't know, man. I personally don't really like Dragon Ball Super too much. I find it to be a little I find it to have to be taking too many missteps on how to basically
Power scale, yeah. Most fans
well,
don't appreciate Super.
I think they're focusing way too much on Goku and Vegeta, um, to the detriment of other characters. It's like you have all these awesome characters, and yet you keep on focusing on the characters who have basically ran Dragon Ball Z into the ground.
Right. I mean,
In my
Yamcha,
opinion.
Tien, Piccolo, Krillin, they don't get as much screen time as they used to.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, I hate to say this. In order to save Dragon Ball, Goku has to die, and I mean permanently die. Like,
They did that with the Cell Saga.
yeah,
And
and let him stay dead. Like, literally, he dies, and just we bring on somebody else. I think that would have made Dragon Ball Super so much better if it was Gohan's journey to become the hero that we always knew he could be. Maybe he could be a better version of Goku, because Goku, I mean, yeah, he's powerful, but he's kind of a fucking idiot. So, like, I think it would be cool to have a hero who's not an idiot. Instead of turning him into a joke like they did with
like in Super, yeah.
No. In Dragon Ball with the Buu Saga.
Oh,
I'm the Great Saiyaman, man. Fuck you. That's what I felt like when they said that. It's the Great Saiyaman. Yeah, you can say whatever.
But it's a nice reference to Sentai.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Whatever. I guess. Like, there are better ways to do, like, because they already did a great reference to Sentai with what was the name of that shit? Damn, I forgot the name of it. With the Ginyu Force. I mean, because remember the Ginyu Force, like, all they did were Sentai intros and outros. That was all they did. We're Captain Ginyu and the Ginyu Force. I mean, that's all they did. That was the Sentai send up. And then they turned they turned Gohan into, at the end of the Cell Saga, was a total badass. And really, the end of the Cell Saga, if they were gonna, like, they should have started the new thing then. And they're like, okay, look, we're starting a new thing. It's Gohan's journey now.
Oh, there's one other thing. One other thing I forgot to mention before we can wrap things up. Godzilla Monster Planet is now available on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw it. I would do a review, but I can't. Actually, no. Why the hell not? I'll do a review.
I have yet to see it, so I'll probably have to see it at a later time. All right. And I'll probably watch your review later after I see it.
All right. Well, for those of you who are Godzilla fans, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know.
And I read news that it's going to be a trilogy.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
And that's all I have to say.
It's going to be a trilogy, folks. Yeah. If it's a trilogy, we're all in for a treat. But with that being said, that's the end of this episode of Sci-Fi Power Hour-ish. As you can see, it wasn't even really an hour because, it was a short topic. Stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll be doing BS Busters, where we'll be doing baseless speculation on what the next Legend of Zelda and
the new Metroid game.
The new Metroid game could possibly be. Not the 2D Metroid, like what we think they're going to be doing with 3D Metroid.
Which is Metroid Prime 4.
Yes. Now, we don't know. This is baseless speculation. So it's not going to be a lot of realistic stuff. We might even just make stuff up, but it's going to be fun because it's Metroid and Legend of Zelda. So 2 of our favorite franchises, I think. I don't know about other people, but I like the shit. So
I like both franchises, yeah.
So with that being said, that's the end of this video. Stay tuned tomorrow. There may or may not be a podcast from the OGL. Stay tuned for that. I'm not entirely sure, but look forward to that.
Well, Dr. Feelgood changed the schedule to tomorrow.
Oh, God. Okay, so there will not be an OGL. I hope his doesn't go with mine or whatever. So with that being said, good day, good night, and enjoy. Peace. Give your sign off.
And
Give your sign off.
Oh, yeah. And this is Piggy Don signing off. Be sure to visit Video Game Facts, where we talk about facts and opinions of the gamosphere.
Don't say that. Don't say facts and opinions. People don't appreciate facts or opinions. That being said, good night.